Okay, here we have our selection of tools for, well, this is specifically for rear strut removal on our 98 Corolla. Same for 98 up to 2002. Let's see, so I'm gonna use the impact gun. Hopefully you have one of those. Let's see, we've got our spring clamps, got a big screwdriver. You'll see what this is for later. Let's see, a 5mm Allen key there, 10mm flare nut wrench for the brake line, and then for the strut mounting bolts that mount it to the knuckle, 17mm wrench, 17mm socket on the impact gun goes with that, and then a 14mm wrench. There's a good use for the ratcheting end that you'll see when we're removing the stabilizer bar link. Then this little flare nut crow's foot actually might be a better way than the standard tool, but if you don't have this, you can use the regular flare nut wrench. And then of course our ratchet, the 12mm socket is for the top mount nuts, and then 19mm for the strut rod nut. We ran into a little issue where we needed to do some grinding, so I have my Dremel here. This big socket is just the one that fits this particular spring clamping tool. So this size may vary. This one's a 24, but depends on your spring clamps and what size that is. So anyways, that should do it for the tools. Alright, so I'm gonna loosen or attempt to get this stabilizer link nut off of here. It's a 14mm. This one is pretty rusty, so we'll see. Nope. Alright, so this is where you gotta use your Allen key in here. This one was rusted, so I had to do a little work to even get the key in there. So you want to be careful not to strip that. It just fits. Okay, so this is where I'm using the 14mm ratcheting wrench here, and then you can hold the link from spinning with the Allen key, and there we go. This one's kind of difficult because of rust. I put some rust penetrant on there, but that only does so much. Yeah, this one's stuck good. Damn. Ooh. I want to strip it out. Oh man, I think it's starting to strip. No good. Okay, so we had a problem with rust here on this bolt, this sway bar or stabilizer bar end link, and it's locked up, rusted right now. So what we're doing at the moment is just detaching it from the sway bar so that we can at least get this strut assembly out. If worse comes to worse, I'm gonna have to just replace this piece, or we'll see if we can figure out a way to remove it once we have more room to work. So I like to just clean the dirt out right here, all the buildup, because I don't like stuff going down into the brake line once I detach it. So I'm just cleaning off all the dirt and grease or whatever might be in there. Okay. Then we got our special flare nut crow's foot, which you can use to, there we go, to break it loose. And then then after, once it's broken loose, you can just use a regular flare nut wrench or even just a regular 10mm wrench. And then the other thing we gotta do, we gotta get this clip out. And I just use the big screwdriver to pry it out. There we go. You see the brake fluid starting to come out. So I have a bolt that I don't want all the brake fluid to run out because we're gonna have this strut out here for a little while, especially because we're gonna be trying to get that link off of there. So I'm just gonna disconnect this. Actually, you can either plug it up with a bolt or you can just plug the brake lines back together too. We can just do that. Still going. Okay, so I'm just gonna bend this brake line out just a little bit and just reconnect them so don't get all the brake fluid running out of the system. And just get a lightly snug just so it's not all running out. Okay. Okay. Then the last thing at the bottom is just getting out the 17mm bolts here, or nut and bolt. Let's see. So I'm just gonna use the impact gun and the 17mm wrench to hold the bolt side, impact gun on the nut side. There we go. And then you do the bottom one, same way. The brake line is in the way a bit, but you can still get it in there. There we go. Okay, then we gotta disconnect it up from the top, and then we'll be able to remove our assembly. Alright, so to access the top bolts, you just open this panel here, and then you see you have your three, there's another one back there, you can't really see it, but you can touch it. There's the three 12mm nuts, and then there's this cap that you can remove, and you can access the 19mm nut right there. The repair manual will tell you to loosen that nut. Don't take it all the way off, just loosen it a little bit so that it makes removal easier once you have the assembly out. I'm just going to use the impact gun to take that off. It actually works really well, as long as you're careful. So yeah, you gotta loosen these. Probably best to get rid of the back one first. Let's see. So it shouldn't take many cranks of the ratchet, then you can just reach in and take it out. It shouldn't have any corrosion or rust issues like the ones that are exposed to the elements down below. There we go. There. This one. That's too much torque for that little thing. They should have made this access hole slightly bigger. It would have been a huge help. But actually, hold on. I think on this one, just a regular close-in wrench. There we go. Okay. Alright, set that one aside. Then this one, I think I can get the wrench on this one a little more easy. There we go. Okay, so now this one has more resistance to remove because of the weight pulling down on it. These little ratcheting wrenches are handy for this kind of thing. Just gotta get ready for it to drop. There we go. Okay, so now this strut is, woo, it's dirty in there. So it's still held by this lower bolt. That one actually just slid out, and then you just gotta get it off of the knuckle. There we go. Alright, and you can just drop it out. Alright, so now's the part where we need to clamp our spring, and so we can take off the top mount and disassemble the strut assembly. Okay. Just gonna put them opposite of each other, like 180 degrees apart. And this actually, I don't know if it's recommended to do it this way, but it sure works a lot faster if you use air power to tighten these clamps. Okay, you can see the spring is free now, and it's quicker on the rear because this spring is not as strong, so it's easier to clamp it. And then the 19 millimeter on the top, we'll just loosen that. There we go. I'm gonna save that nut because I don't like the funky aftermarket one. And then it just comes apart. And make sure you pay attention to the position of the way it all sits. You gotta make sure and put it back facing the right direction when you reassemble it. Because the bolts on the top need to line up with the bolts on the bottom. Okay, so there you go. You got a little spacer in there. And this we're going to reuse, and our spring of course we're going to reuse, and the boot's coming apart on this one, not as bad as the other side was, but anyways. And we want to save this spring cushion, got to reuse that, and then the rest we're throwing in the garbage. And you can see how weak the strut is. This one's pretty bad. Okay, then we got our new strut, and we gotta get rid of this little clip here that came on in the box. And you can let it extend out, that's good to go. I got another boot. Let's see. I have these new boots. This is a Moog brand. This one, the way you're supposed to set it up is, you can see how it is on the original one. There's a bump stop built in with the boot, and this is 2 pieces, but you just gotta get this piece into the groove. Might be a little bit of a pain, but there we go. So you gotta get that bump stop into the groove of the boot, and now you have your new piece. You can set it on there. It slides over the strut rod, and then soaking the dirt in here. So I'm gonna put the spring cushion in place, and the spring back. Make sure the end of the spring sits where it's supposed to, and then I'm gonna put, oh, do you want to see up here? Then we gotta put the strut mount, and there's a flat side of the strut rod, so gotta line that up. There we go. And then your spacer and your nut, and actually I need to make sure that my setup is facing the right direction. This one is a little tricky. Let's see. It's gonna sit in the car this way, so this top mount is gonna need to be rotated in the right direction. Because it only goes in one way. There we go. You notice that there's basically 2 sort of flat edges, then there's this round side, and this points to the inner rear. So can you see that shape? And you can also actually look on the underside. Here, I should take that off. You can get an idea of which way it needs to be positioned by looking at the underside, and you can see where the spring stops right there. So yeah, you want to get it lined up as close as you can, because otherwise you're going to have trouble fighting to get this thing back in. Let's see. Where's my... Yeah, that's where the spring. Yeah, it sits like right there. Okay. Then we can release our clamps. Alright. Okay, now we got the spring in place, and then the last thing, don't forget to tighten this 19mm nut on top. Okay, time to go back in. Okay, so I got the new assembly here lined up. It might take a little bit of time to align the top mount holes and actually get the assembly to go up, and then you just want to reach up and put a nut on, at least just one nut to hold it, and then it'll stay. And Oh, here we have our new end link. We had to replace this because the other one got the bolt or the nut got frozen. Now let's see, what we can do next is get the lower mounting bolts to line up. You got to be careful. It's really important when you put the assembly together to align everything, because if it's not aligned properly, this could be at a completely different angle and it's going to give you a bunch of trouble. This one is slightly off, but close enough. Let's see. Probably easier to get the bottom one first. Let's see. Helps also if I can see. Alright. There we go. Yeah, getting it all to line up can be some fun, but there we go. I have to twist it around a little bit. Alright, then that way you can do the top one by putting some pressure. There we go. Okay, now you got it in a better position to where you can put in your stabilizer bar link. This one is nice and stiff because it's new. So, there we go. Okay, then the fun part, we had a little issue with this opening here for the brake line being too small, and that makes it so that when you go to put the brake line in, you need to make sure it gets in high enough, or it needs to get all the way in there so you can put in your clip. And if you can't get the clip in there, you won't be able to secure it, and that also helps you when you're tightening it down. So anyways, that was an issue. This is, oh, by the way, this is a Sensen shock, so watch out for that if you buy the Sensen. They're very affordable and they're a good deal and all, but we did run into that one problem. Okay, get this out. So I'm not clipping it in yet. I'm going to attach the lines first because I got that little bit of movement so I can get the threads to line up. I don't want to clip it into the shock and then try to force the hard line in, and then you could strip the threads. You definitely don't want to do that. Yeah, I just put rags below because brake fluid's coming out. I want to catch it. It'll eat into the paint on the strut and whatever else is around. Okay, so I just turned that until it started to get snug, and just trying to get rid of all the brake fluid. And just gonna line it up, push it up into the hole, and then clip it in. Should be able to just push that clip in by hand. And then I'll go and snug the line down. Now it's locked into place. There we go. Alright. Okay. So then we're just gonna tighten down our end link here. Hold it with the 5mm Allen. Snug that. Then alright. Now just grab the impact gun, tighten these lower bolts. Then you can either use a jack under here to push the assembly up and then tighten your upper bolts, or just get in there with a ratchet and crank on them. So we're going to do that next. Okay, so now we're just putting on our top mount nuts. There's the 3 up here, and see, I'll probably just start by tightening the easiest one to access, because that'll make the rest of them easier as well. Okay, there you go. And when you can feel it getting snug, then you can just reach in and tighten, spin the other ones on by hand. Okay. One in the back is kind of a pain, but make sure it's starting to snug too as you get back in there. There we go. Would help if the ratchet's going in the right direction. There we go. Alright. And don't forget to snug the top one. I did that already with an impact gun. It's easy. But don't forget that if you don't have an impact. then you just close that cover up. If you have the fold down seats, all you got to do is push them back up. If you have the fixed position seat, that one actually had to be removed. I don't know if we mentioned that. But yeah, you got to start off by removing the fixed position seat, the bottom cushion, and then the back. But this one is nice with the fold down seats. Oh, actually I forgot one finishing touch. There is a dust cap right there. There we go. Alright, and then we want to make sure and bleed the brakes after that disconnecting of the brake lines. And it's basically the same as any other Honda, Toyota. We have a Honda video. The link should pop up on the screen here, and you can check out how to do that.